Cycle of division, Ashang Casar and the manipulation of Manipur's ethnic tensions. In the verdant hills of Manipur, a state marked by ethnic diversity and historical fault lines, the 1990s cast a long shadow over the Kuki people. The National Socialist Council of Nagaland Isak Muiva, Nscn, a Tangkhul Naga-dominated insurgent group, waged a campaign of ethnic cleansing that killed over 1,000 Kukis, destroyed more than 300 villages, and displaced over 100,000 people. Decades later, these wounds remain raw, inflamed by figures like Ashang Casar, a prominent Naga activist and president of the Indigenous Peoples Forum, Manipur, IPFM. Kasar's 2025 statements on X, which glorify past violence and threaten further harm against the Kukis, have sparked outrage. His rhetoric, coupled with allegations of exploiting the 2023 to 2025 Kuki-Meitei conflict for personal gain, has led to demands for his scrutiny under India's National Investigation Agency, NIA, and the filing of FIRs, raising serious questions about constitutional violations and the exploitation of Manipur's ethnic strife. The 1990s Kuki Genocide, a legacy of loss. The 1990s were a harrowing period for the Kuki community. Starting in 1992, the Nscn targeted Kukis in Manipur's hill districts, Ukhrul, Tamenglong, and Senapati, in a systematic campaign. Over 1,000 Kukis, including women, children, and the elderly, were killed in unprovoked attacks. More than 300 villages were razed, and over 100,000 people were forced from their ancestral lands. The Jupi massacre of September 13, 1993, remains a stark symbol of this violence, with 88 unarmed civilians slaughtered in one night. "We fled into the jungle hearing screams behind us," recalls Ling Nakim, a survivor from Tamenglong. "Our homes were burned, our livestock stolen. They wanted us gone." The Nscn's campaign extended beyond murder to dispossession. Kuki lands, cattle, and properties were looted and redistributed among Naga cadres, particularly Tangkhuls. Armed only with hunting rifles and homemade weapons, the Kukis were defenseless against the Nscn's automatic rifles and external support. The Manipur state government's failure to intervene left the Kukis vulnerable, and accountability for these atrocities remains elusive. This history fuels the outrage over Ashang Casar's recent statements, which appear to mock the genocide and threaten its recurrence. Ashang Casar, a polarizing voice. Ashang Casar, a Tangkhul Naga activist, television panelist, and IPFM president, is a prominent figure in Manipur's socio-political landscape. Affiliated with the Northeast Indigenous Peoples Forum, NIPF, he advocates for indigenous rights, but has drawn condemnation for his inflammatory rhetoric. In 2025, Kasar's X posts escalated tensions, particularly a now-deleted tweet on May 19, 2025, claiming Kukis won't stay 2 seconds if Nagas are disturbed. Many interpreted this as a genocidal threat referencing the 1990s violence. Kuki activists on X condemned the statement as incitement, calling for Kasar's arrest under the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, UAPA, and Indian Penal Code, IPC, Sections 153A, Promoting Enmity, and 505, Public Mischief. One user described his words as terrorism, not free speech, urging the NIA and Manipur police to act. These reactions highlight a widespread belief that Kasar's rhetoric violates India's constitutional principles of equality and communal harmony. Constitutional violations and demands for NIA scrutiny. India's constitution, under Articles 14, Equality before the law, 15, Prohibition of discrimination, and 21, Right to life and personal liberty, protects against hate speech and incitement. Kasar's alleged threat to remove Kukis in 2 seconds is seen as breaching these principles by targeting an entire community. The Kuki Organization for Human Rights, KOHUR, has accused Kasar of fueling majoritarian mayhem, undermining protections for scheduled tribes like the Kukis. Calls for NIA scrutiny arise from the agency's role in investigating terrorism and threats to national security. Kasar's alleged glorification of the 1993 genocide and threats of further violence are viewed as incitement under the UAPA, which addresses acts threatening India's sovereignty or public order. Ex-users have demanded an FIR and investigation, citing Kasar's high profile and past incidents, such as his 2023 harassment by Assam Rifles, as evidence of a provocative pattern. The lack of action, even under President's rule imposed in February 2025, after Chief Minister N. Biren Singh's resignation, has fueled accusations of state inaction, amplifying calls for accountability, exploiting the 2023 to 2025 Kuki-Meitei conflict. The Kuki-Meitei conflict, erupting on May 3, 2023, after a Manipur High Court order recommended scheduled tribe (ST) status for Meiteis, has claimed over 260 lives, displaced 60,000 people, and destroyed thousands of homes and religious structures. Meitei militias, allegedly backed by state forces, targeted Kukis in the Imphal Valley, while Kukis defended their hill strongholds in Churachandpur and Kangpokpi. The Ministry of Home Affairs, MHA, established buffer zones to separate communities and prevent further bloodshed, a measure critical to maintaining peace. Kasar has leveraged this conflict to amplify his rhetoric, often portraying Kukis as a threat to indigenous harmony. In a 2023 peace protest, he called for dialogue but accused Kukis of violence, aligning with narratives labeling them as illegal immigrants or drug peddlers. These claims mirrored the state's biased anti-drug campaigns and eviction drives under N. Biren Singh. Critics allege that Kasar exploited the conflict for personal or political gain, using ethnic tensions to enhance his influence or access resources. While no direct evidence ties Kasar to financial exploitation, Kuki activists and ex-posts suggest that figures like him have capitalized on the chaos. One user called Kasar a fraud-sowing division for personal benefit, though specifics are unverified. The conflict's humanitarian crisis, with over 247 crore rupees in relief funds allocated by the Union Home Ministry in 2024, has raised concerns about mismanagement by influential leaders. These allegations, while speculative, reflect deep distrust in Kasar's motives. Clarifying the Shirui Lily Festival controversy. Kasar's 2025 comments about the Shirui Lily Festival in Ukhrul district have been particularly contentious. He questioned the state's failure to address what he called Kuki threats to the festival, a significant cultural event for the Tangkhul Naga community. However, a closer examination reveals that these were not threats, but concerns raised by Kuki leaders about Meiteis crossing MHA-established buffer zones. These zones, set up to prevent further violence, are critical for maintaining peace by keeping conflicting communities apart. Kuki objections centered on Meitei movements into Kuki-dominated areas, which risked escalating tensions. Misrepresenting these concerns as threats, Kasar's rhetoric inflamed divisions, undermining the MHA's efforts to stabilize the region. Respecting buffer zones is essential to prevent bloodshed, and Kasar's framing distorted the Kuki community's call for adherence to these boundaries. Kasar's role in Manipur's ethnic narrative. Kasar's public persona is multifaceted. As a Tangkhul Naga leader, he supports the Nscn-IM's peace talks with the Indian government, advocating for Naga interests. However, his rhetoric often veers into provocation. In 2023, he addressed the Kuki demand for a separate administration, suggesting it should be pursued constitutionally, but framing it as a strategic ploy rather than a legitimate grievance. This contrasts with his inflammatory statements against Kukis, suggesting a selective approach to peace building. His Shirui Lily Festival comments exemplify this duality. While condemning Kuki concerns, Kasar invoked the 1990s genocide, escalating tensions. This pattern, criticizing one group while threatening another, undermines his peace advocacy and fuels perceptions of bias, particularly when he misrepresents Kuki actions to stoke Naga Meitei solidarity against them. The Kuki response: resilience and restraint. The Kukis of the 1990s were defenseless, armed only with rudimentary weapons against the Nscn's firepower. Today, they are organized and vigilant, The 2023 to 2025 conflict showcased their resilience, as Kuki villages repelled Meitei attacks despite alleged state bias. "We want peace, but we will protect our people," says Lekose, a Kuki activist. Kasar's threats are reckless in this context. The Kuki community has responded by preserving evidence of his statements on social media and demanding legal action, arguing that his rhetoric violates constitutional norms and risks reigniting violence. The Kuki Organization for Human Rights has called for National Human Rights Commission intervention, citing a pattern of anti-tribal persecution. Their emphasis on buffer zones reflects a commitment to peace, countering Kasar's narrative of aggression. Constitutional and legal implications. Kasar's statements, if proven to incite violence, could trigger several legal provisions. IPC Section 153A, promoting enmity between groups on grounds of religion, race, or community. IPC Section 505, statements causing public mischief or alarm. UAPA, acts threatening national security or public order. Constitutional violations, breaching Articles 14, 15, and 21 by targeting a community and undermining their rights. The NIA could investigate Kasar if his statements are deemed to incite ethnic violence or support insurgent narratives. The Manipur police's inaction, even under President's rule, has raised questions about political will. The Supreme Court's 2023 criticism of the state's absolute breakdown of law and order underscores the urgency of addressing such rhetoric, exploitation, in the broader context. Allegations that Kasar exploited the 2023 to 2025 conflict reflect Manipur's complex socio-political dynamics. The violence created a humanitarian crisis, with relief funds flowing into the state. Local leaders often control these resources, raising corruption risks. While no evidence directly links Kasar to financial misconduct, his influence makes him a target of suspicion. The IPFM's claims about unnatural Kuki village growth, echoed by Kasar, have been criticized as inflammatory and potentially self-serving. A call for accountability. The Kuki community's demand for justice extends beyond Kasar to systemic failures. The 1990s genocide remains unpunished, and the 2023 to 2025 violence has seen limited accountability, with the Supreme Court noting delays in FIRs and investigations. Kasar's rhetoric risks perpetuating this impunity. To address this, the following steps are critical. 1. NIA investigation. Probe Kasar's statements for UAPA violations. 2nd, FIR filing. Register FIRs based on his ex posts and speeches. 3rd, independent inquiry. Investigate the 1990s genocide and its glorification. 4th, community dialogue. Facilitate Naga Kuki reconciliation through constitutional means. Conclusion, a path to peace. Ashang Casar's statements, misrepresenting Kuki concerns and invoking the 1990s genocide, deepen Manipur's ethnic divisions. By threatening violence and exploiting tensions, he undermines India's constitutional framework and risks further conflict. The Kuki community, once vulnerable, now stands resilient, advocating for peace through adherence to buffer zones and demanding accountability in form of separate administration. The state and central governments must investigate Kasar, address historical injustices, and ensure relief funds are not misused. Only through truth, justice, and respect for MHA boundaries can Manipur heal and prevent further bloodshed.